I'm going to explain to you how my company is motivating and enabling a circular economy. And I'm going to start by first questioning one of those assumptions that you might have if you're not familiar with biomanufacturing, which is, oh, she's talking about biofuel. And I'm absolutely not talking about biofuel. The first reason is that, yes, fuel and energy is a lot of the barrel. If you think of your abstract 42-gallon barrel of oil, where does most of it go? Most of it goes to energy. And so early biomanufacturing was very much, let's motivate a direct shift away from petroleum by switching to biomass, to biofuel. That's really not going to be feasible. It's very, very difficult to make that work economically for reasons we'll continue to talk about. But especially now, electrification is going to beat the pants off of biomass for fuel. So my question was, is there something else we can do? Because I don't want to give up on bacteria are making lots of things. They're very powerful. Everybody loves them. What is it? And I think the answer is, in an argument that I was helped flesh out by one of our investors, Bioeconomy Capital, who thinks a lot about motivating the bioeconomy and about biomanufacturing, is that slice of the barrel. That's 2 to 4% of the barrel becomes chemicals, and you cannot electrify the generation of chemicals. But that 2 to 4% is responsible for up to a third of the profit of your average barrel of oil. That, if we can replace that with biomass, we can drop the demand for oil for energy and increase the price of using oil for energy. So these cross subsidies really start to interact in an interesting way. And this is the challenge I think bacteria can actually answer. And why haven't we done it before? It's again one of those reasons biofuel was not economical. We cannot use sugar to mean biomass. When people talk to you about fermentation, they frequently mean for you to think sugar as the biomass. Sugar isn't the answer. Sugar cannot work because it's tied intrinsically to the price of energy because it has to be refined. It has to be taken from where it was. Maybe you don't take it very far, but you still have to mill it and you put energy into it and work into it to turn it into a refined product. There's some very pampered microorganisms that are very used to us trying to get them to do things like. No, we have to expand the definition of biomass and, as an earlier speaker said, rejoin an economy and a cycle on this planet that we have locked ourselves out of by choosing petroleum. So my goal literally with this company is to turn poop into money. So the species that are now available that most biotech leverages to attempt their projects, it's basically E. coli and a couple of species of yeast like Saccharomyces cerevisiae, which we use to make bread and alcohol, or you might hear Pichia sometimes. These are bacteria and microbes that have one good skill, maybe two. One skill for E. coli is making a vitamin, and a skill for E. coli or for yeast is making alcohol. It's really, really good at that. Their second skill might be taking up DNA, so that everyone from high school students to big biotech companies say, I can definitely make that organism make some chemical. I'll just take a bunch of genes, put them in, and it'll just run it like a computer. But it won't. Even if it would, they still only eat sugar. So the price of whatever you're getting out needs to be much higher than the price of what you're putting in. That's why I like poop. Not a sentence you hear people say a lot. But what I do find frustrating is that we keep trying this. We keep looking for that one chemical that's going to make sugar worth it as a biomass feedstock. Relying on just these two organisms to do every chemical manufacture that you could do in a cell is like running a farm where you only have a dog. The dog is obedient, you've had it for a while, you know how to teach it tricks, but it needs to eat meat. You could try to make it eat grass, but it's going to be really sick. And you could try to milk it. Technically, it can make milk, but like, can you just imagine that? Barn full of dogs getting milked. There are cows out there. There are many bacteria. If you think about which genes they're putting into these organisms, they observed them in some other organism. And the question was, well, why aren't we using that organism? That's the question, the tradition I'm questioning. Why are we always using these guys? And the answers came back, but they weren't answers that I could accept. It was just, oh, we don't know how, or we don't need to. I can't take it. I got real obnoxious about that one. So nature, if you take away one thing from this, remember nature is still so untapped. Some of these things we know about and we can't tap. There's many more we don't know about, and that's part of what Microbyre is doing, is blending this data collection so that we can actually leverage machine learning and data science in a way that biology, trust me, we can argue about this, has not been able to do to date. But look, That one is a bacteria that makes magnetic materials. It makes perfect little magnets that are beautifully formed. And the next one actually makes rocket fuel. It makes hydrazine. It lives basically in ammonia, and it makes rocket fuel and even more energetic compounds to protect itself from the hydrazine it makes. I like the third one. They're all my favorite, but I like the third one because you have to feed it wild rabbit poop. It doesn't like domestic rabbit poop. That's something we could figure out why, but I don't need to. I just keep the steady stream of wild rabbit poop coming, but it'll make anti-cancer drugs. It's a very complex bacteria. And then the one on the end actually provides nitrogen fertilizer directly to plants. So it's known that bacteria do that. This one's special because of the range of plant species it does that for. So some bacteria, if you get good with them, they will get you good with one species of plant. This one will get you good with orders of plants. And these are just the easy ones for me to explain to you how awesome they are and why what they're doing is so cool. And none of them have been brought into an industrial standpoint for anything. That is like leaving all kinds of functions you could find in nature just on the floor. And that is not how the bioengineers of our past worked. All of the bioengineering, we don't call it bioengineering anymore. We call it domestication, or we say, oh, they're cat fanciers. They have many breeds of cats. But that is serious work. It's a serious feeling for the organism that you have to bake. That is what Microbyre is doing. We're not working with E. coli. We are changing the economics of biomanufacturing by picking the right organism for the job, feeding it a feedstock that is economical, easy to get, and having it love its job so much by dint of evolution that it already does it, that it's easy to genetically modify it to specialize even more and to make even more product at a price point that is not just a green premium, but the new vocabulary word I learned this morning, a green discount. So we target multiple industries, and we are founded by investors that are climate-minded. And we picked commodity chemicals first for a couple of reasons. One, it's relatively low regulatory. Two, a lot of the chemicals people don't know are already fermented in bacteria that are not E. coli. A lot of materials are, it's not thought of as synthetic biology, it's thought of as chemistry. So we can make chemicals. We can get with bacteria that can reduce the need for generating nitrogen fertilizer. I did tell you energy was not a great place for biomass to be. There's one exception, and it might be jet fuel, because jets are really going to be very difficult to put batteries on, but bacteria can make isopropanol, which can become jet fuel. So enzymes, a lot of your foods already shot through with bacteria. You would not have coffee or chocolate without it. And mining is one people don't know that can be intensely environmentally destructive, but a lot of the metal ores are locked up in forms that only bacteria can really access efficiently, and they can be made more efficient if you're really good at domesticating them. So I'm going to leave it there because that was massive, and I'm going to get a chance for questions because I know I said a lot.
I made it sound like you weren't good at this, but you're really good at this. Okay. Sit down. You know, but the poop thing.
Thank you.
You are. Just explain the poop thing. So the bacteria, when you say you love poop, you mean the bacteria excrete the products that you want to make effectively.
Oh, that too.
Is that?
Oh, I'm communicating in layers. Okay.
Is that what you mean?
I mean that too. Yeah. What I meant was that right now, the biggest fermentations on the planet, and some that generate a good deal of greenhouse gas equivalents, are a breakdown of our water waste. So water processing, manure processing, we tend to let those go in big fermentive vats full of bacteria that we're not really keeping track of, that we're not really friendly with, but they do a job, and they're breaking down our waste until it's palatable and can be used somewhere or spread out, and so they generate methane. Right now, that's basically, it's waste heat. It's unnecessary. So all of that biomass that clearly bacteria can eat, because if it rots, a bacteria can eat it, and we could leverage that for something else. So I would like to just rewire that sort of process, get good with those bacteria, and then be able to use manure and other waste streams, organic waste streams that contain carbon, nitrogen, for things besides just wastewater processing, methane generation. I would like to be able to use them to make commodity chemicals.
Talk a little quickly about what things. What would be the near-term product opportunity?
Oh, I've got one I love. We have a bacteria we isolated from a Berkeley backyard, and it produces a precursor to acrylic acid. And acrylic acid has been a target for biomass conversion for a long time because acrylic acid is largely used to make products for hygiene, like diapers, that nobody wants to give up, but it's also in all of your plastics. It's a big commodity chemical that itself is toxic to life. So many, that's why you like it for diapers, right? Because it's antibiotic. But many efforts have gone, millions of dollars have gone into trying to convert biomass directly without using a microbe into acrylic acid. And it's always been economically infeasible. Or in trying to get a microbe to make it directly or to make some precursor. And by microbe, I mean E. coli and yeast from sugar. And it has never hit any economic targets. But we have a bacteria that secretes a precursor to it, and it secretes it. That's its job. It gives it away. It doesn't have to be engineered to start on this path. It's already
So
there.
if you just get the right food for the bacteria,
It loves
you can make
waste.
all the acrylic you want.
It loves waste. It doesn't
Right.
want to eat sugar. And it's got a number of features that make it very competitive in the same hardware that you would put E. coli in, but it could run that hardware at a lower cost. And yes, we're not looking at matching the price of petroleum-produced acrylic acid. We're looking at, with this process, beating it.
So the bottom line, and we do have to wrap, is that you believe that these biological processes, which are a variety, but they're all involving fermentation and bacteria, and everything involves bacteria
In my
one
world.
way or another, in your world. This could become a massive part of human manufacturing for a wide range of things.
It has to.
Yeah.
It's not it could. It has to. It did once upon a time. We used to get all of our chemicals from biomass, with or without bacteria. We still get more than people are really aware of from bacteria. But yes, to survive on this planet, to meet all our other goals, and to support everyone else while they work on goals that we can't get at with biomass and bacteria, we have to do this.
Good way to end. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.